Welcome into KSU Nation here on YouTube. I'm Stevie B.
And I'm Kenny G.
And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Sunflower Showdown, K-State versus KU, and then week 9 here in the Big 12. Kenny, before we do that, there is something going on with our subscribe button. Something's not working right, man.
The subscribe button isn't working, guys. We have been sitting at the same number of subscribers for the last couple of days, and I know that is a huge mistake because you guys can't be watching these videos and not subscribing. So please do us a favor and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. We are really, really close. We're so close to 1,000. We just need a few hundred more. I mean, I know that sounds like it's not very close, but it is very close. And it could happen a lot quicker, a lot sooner than you think. So please help us out and hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, we've gone up like 300 subs in the last 4 weeks, but we need to go up 300 more subs and then some to get to 1,000 subscribers. I mean, I think we have like 55,000 views over the last 4 weeks. So if you are a first-time watcher, you're a K-State fan, Big 12 fan, this channel is for you. And in today's episode, like we said, we're going to be talking about the Sunflower Showdown with a college friend of mine. His name is John Kurtz. You should know who he is. He's got like 20,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Former sports director at the Manhattan Broadcasting Company in Manhattan. Probably the best radio voice I've ever heard. Actually,
they call him the voice of K-State sometimes.
Dude, he's a good dude. Like, I've known him since he was like 19 or 20. A lot of people don't know this. He is actually one of the funniest people ever. Like, he's got a really dry sense of humor. He's a former Go Ema guy. If you know, you know. He's actually a really good basketball player too. He was him and I were on the same intramural basketball team. I feel like you probably only asked me because I'm tall. He led our team in scoring like every year, but that was like 15 years ago. Excited to have him on. He's on the 3 Ma Pod. Obviously has his own channel as well where he talks about the Big 12 and college football realignment. But we're going to get him on here in about 20 or 30 minutes or so to talk about that. Before that, though, Kenny, there's a lot we need to discuss here when talking about the Sunflower Showdown, K-State versus KU. You have a list of things that did not – you know what? I'll let you take the floor. Go ahead and take the floor.
Okay, well, first thing we need to discuss is I hate the name. I hate the name of the Sunflower Showdown. That's kind of corny. I think Tim Fitzgerald wants it to be called the Abolition Bowl. I'm not really sure. We need to come up with better names than the Sunflower Showdown. That's so corny, dude. Like, it needs to be better. It needs to be better. I don't know, man. Anyway, so I want to kind of discuss as a lot of people, if you're a K-State fan, you have come to the right place. If you're a KU fan, it's going to be kind of hard watching this episode. We are going to be pretty dang hard on you guys.
It's going to be rough.
Buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be rough. So, KSU Nation, we all know it's been sort of, 15 years of a victory lap over KU. 27 out of the last 30 years of domination. Those 3 years with Prince, we're not going to talk about it. Let's kind of dive in to something that I found pretty interesting. 15 years ago, sometimes we don't really think about we really don't think about the implications of what 15 years is, right? Because we everything just kind of happens and we get everything instantly, and our memories are not really like we don't really think about like long term, like how long ago 15 years actually is, right? Let me just kind of break it down for you. The last time, so 15 years ago, this is what did not exist 15 years ago.
The last time KU beat K-State.
The last time that KU beat K-State was 15 years ago, and this is what did not exist 15 years ago. Amazon Alexa. Okay? That didn't exist. Facebook Messenger did not exist. Netflix Originals were not around 15 years ago. Smart doorbells did not exist 15 years ago. Grubhub and DoorDash were not around 15 years ago. The USB-C.
What?
USB TikTok was not
Of
around.
course. Yeah, I mean, we had Vine back then, dude. Vine was
Of course.
it was a vibe.
Apple iPads were not around 15 years ago.
That sounds about right, because that was right around when the first iPhone was coming out, or third one, or something like that.
I think the iPhone 4 hadn't even come out yet.
Oh my gosh, dude, we're like 15, 16 now, or whatever.
Fitbits were not around. Instagram wasn't around. Instapots were not around. Instapots.
Oh boy.
They hadn't even come out with Instapots yet. I don't know where I would be in life if I didn't have my Instapot. I'd probably be starving or just really, really fat from McDonald's. Uber and Lyft weren't around. Airbnb wasn't around. 5G cellular network wasn't around. Ultra high definition TVs weren't around. Think about this. This is the last time KU beat K-State. That is a long time. 15 years there's a lot of air fryers weren't around.
What were you doing in 2008?
Oh man.
I think I know. But for people that don't know.
Well, 2008 was sort of the kickoff year of my my music career. I was 18 years old, and I started a band like a couple years before that, and we couldn't really go anywhere with it because we were still in high school. But once I hit 18, I decided to take it very, very seriously. And I pushed everything off to the side. Also, I met my wife that year, which that was a blessing. I didn't realize she was my wife at first. Obviously, no one does until much later in the relationship. But I started touring heavily that year, and then it wasn't until 2 years later where we started to become like, we toured like internationally and stuff, and we went on like many tours around the country after that. So that was the year that I basically said to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be a singer. I want to be a songwriter. And that was a very long time ago.
That's crazy, dude.
Things have definitely changed since then. And
in a good way for everyone.
In a really good way. Yeah. In the best ways. So I'm here right now. I'm talking to the KSU Nation here on the KSU Nation channel.
Yeah,
doesn't get much better than this. Dreams do come true, Steve. You just gotta believe.
Absolutely, dude. And 2008. I remember where I was. I was at an apartment complex on Raton in Manhattan Avenue, and I remember watching K-State lose. I think it was 52-21, and thinking, man, we got to fire this guy. He's got to be gone. Like, K-State can't be losing by 31 points at KU. And then I think it was either right after the game or the next day. I can't remember. They fired Ron Prince. And then I was like, okay, all right. Things might be heading in the right direction. And then actually I want to talk about this, and maybe I'll bring it up with John when he gets on here. One of my fondest college memories was actually the next year in 2009. K-State beats KU for the first time in 4 years after losing 3 consecutive years. K-State wins 17-10. And a great game. Daniel Thomas was in that game. There was a couple missed field goals. I think the game was even on Versus. That's how long ago this game was. But not only did K-State win the game to start the 15-in-a-year row streak, my favorite part about that is that after K-State won the game, all the fans stayed in their seats for like 10, 15 minutes to celebrate the win together. Like, that's how important this game is to people from Kansas. Like, if you're a K-State fan, KU fan, that's how important this game is. And I remember sitting there like, man, this game means that much to everyone here. 50,000 people have not moved an inch in 10 minutes since the game ended. And it was amazing. And if you would have told me, 15 years ago, K-State was going to win 15 in a row, I wouldn't have believed you, because at that point, K-State still wasn't playing that good of football. I think they ended the season 6-6. If you would have told me K-State would have won a couple Big 12 championships, was on the cusp of going to the national championship, I wouldn't have believed you. So yeah, that was a great win and one of my fondest college memories for sure. And I apologize, I don't sound the best. Still getting over being sick. So we had a couple comments here. Kenny, go ahead and hit them up.
Yeah, I also don't sound the best either because I've been coughing a lot lately. But we got Robbie Schultz in the chat. He says, "Hey guys, yeah, King John, tomato tornado throwdown." Now that's a good name. I like that. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma might have something to say about that. Maybe. Wait, I think Sunflower Showdown is a good name. You think Sunflower Showdown? It's so.
I'm used to it at this point. I don't think it's a great name. I don't think it's a bad name. It's just it's not a great name, but it's not the worst in my opinion.
It needs to be so much better.
At least we have something.
Yeah, it needs to be better though.
Call it the Governor's Cup.
Like Farmageddon is so much. Like that is
the best name, dude.
that goes so hard, dude. That is so hard, and that rivalry is not as important as KU K-State. So Avery Johnson was like 4 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so true. Should just call it Sunflower Beatdown instead. Yeah,
we're gonna pull up the scores from the last 15 years here in a minute.
Yeah, look up. The band I was in was called the After Party. We were a band straight out of Manhattan, Kansas. Technically, we all went to Riley, which is the school that Jordy Nelson went to. In fact, he was in high school around the same time I was. So, definitely know the Nelson family. His sister and his older brother as well. 2008 was when Manhattan had that tornado, right? Yeah, and I think it was also that same year, earlier that year. I think 2007, 2008, that winter was that crazy ice storm too.
Yes, it was 2007, spring 2007. That was crazy. 2008 was a tornado as well. I remember that distinctly.
Yeah, it means everything.
It does.
That 2009 team ended up playing for a spot in the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, because of tiebreakers. If K-State would have beaten Nebraska that year, they would have played in it, which was really funny. Colin Klein was a wide receiver on that team in 2009.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
They ran like a reverse pass, and he was the one throwing it as a wide receiver. I think number 12. No, you guys don't want that smoke again. I promise you.
No distractions. Go Buffs. We want the rematch. Well, I don't know if it's going to happen.
It's not going to happen regardless. But they don't want this again. In fact, I don't think anyone wants K-State right now. And actually, we could talk about that here really quickly. We were talking beforehand, like, who is the best team in the Big 12 right now? Obviously, BYU and Iowa State are both undefeated, 7-0, undefeated in a Big 12 conference. But they're not playing like the best teams in the conference right now. Like, if you had to pick one team, and maybe I'm biased, I'm sure I am. I feel like K-State is looking like the class of the conference. No one wants to play K-State right now. I mean, they just dominated West Virginia 45-18. Could have put up 52. And they won at Colorado the week before. They dominated Oklahoma State the week before that. I think Avery Johnson has 11 touchdowns in the last 3 games. No one, and I mean no one, is playing better than Kansas State right now. Kenny, do you agree? K-State is looking like the best team in the Big 12 right now, October 22nd, 2024.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the way that the team is, the trajectory of the team, the health of the team, you have to also think about that. A lot of other teams are getting, having key players get injured and getting taken out of the game. I mean, this guy just said, "Let's go Buffs. I want a rematch." Dude, Tyler Hunter he's banged up, man. Like, I don't think he wants this again.
Travis Hunter is too small.
Travis Hunter. Whatever,
I hate saying that, but like when you get hurt 2 games in a row and you're as small as he is, it's not good. It's not good.
So you got injured players all over the map. And the thing is that K-State, I would say has the best like overall consistent team in terms of offense and their defense. Their defense is actually starting to come around now. Their secondary is actually starting to pull off really good defensive plays. Their offense just proved that they can win in the air. We know that we can dominate in the run game. Avery Johnson is a dual threat quarterback. He can beat you on his legs. He can beat you on his arm. He just proved that. Connor Riley is really settled in as the OC, which these were kind of the alarming things that we were thinking about. We knew that we had the talent. We knew we had the guys to pull it off. We just didn't know how soon it would be for us to be able to pull this off with a new OC, a brand new quarterback. Literally, this is his first starting year, and he's managed to like step in to this role and handle it like really well. And so you can't be but excited about the future of K-State, especially in this season. We thought we'd have to wait until 2025. No, we could do this now in 2024.
It's all right there for the taking, man. Everything is out in front of K-State right now, and I think that's exactly what you want. Now it does feel like K-State has the most difficult schedule of any of the contenders. I mean, when you play at BYU and at Iowa State, you got Arizona State at home and Cincinnati at home, and you play at Colorado. K-State has arguably the toughest schedule of anyone in the Big 12, and they're still looking like the class of the conference. I mean, they really are. I mean, I don't see Iowa State playing at K-State or at BYU, and, BYU got K-State at home, and they're not playing Iowa State this year. They do that. I will say this, BYU fans, if you're watching, I'm sure you're not, but if you are, that schedule is starting to look pretty difficult down the stretch. I mean, I know BYU has won all their games. They're looking pretty good. They've gotten pretty lucky. At the same time, that schedule down the stretch is looking kind of difficult. I'm not going to lie.
Before we get John on, because we only have like about 5 more minutes before he gets on, I just wanted to touch on this because you did mention about the scheduling. Listen, yeah, K-State had to win on the road against BYU. We didn't accomplish that. Had to win in Tulane. We did that. Had to win against Colorado. We did that. Had to go across from Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, all the way to the other side of the dang country and play West Virginia. We won there. Okay. And again, yes, we have to go and play in Iowa State. Listen to Iowa State's schedule here. Check this out. They played Baylor at home. Listen to their away games. Okay. Just listen to their away games. Houston.
Hit me with it.
West Virginia, Utah. That's it. I'm not counting.
The other one's is a home game, right?
I'm not counting KU. I'm not counting KU because that's at Arrowhead, and the amount of distance that Iowa State has to travel is almost the exact same that KU has to travel. And I guarantee you that the amount of fans that Iowa State is going to bring to that stadium,
they're going to bring 30,000 fans. Easily.
It's basically a home game. It's basically a home game.
Yes.
So listen to the stretch down here. UCF, just played Iowa State in Ames. Texas Tech is going to Ames. Kansas, we know that's played in Arrowhead. Cincinnati playing in Iowa State. Then Iowa goes to Utah. Okay. Utah's a dumpster fire. And then K-State goes against Iowa State. This is the ranked number 10 team. No wonder they're not ranked higher because they haven't really done anything. Their schedule is easy. It's easy peasy.
I will say this. They did win at Iowa. That's a good win. Not a great win. I mean, Iowa was ranked at the time, but they're
by 1 point
every single year. Honestly, that felt more like Iowa losing it than Iowa State winning it. I mean, when you pass the ball 3 or 4 times or 3 times when you're inside the 5-yard line instead of running it when they're a running team, I don't get that at all. But Iowa State's won all their games. They got a little bit of help last week, but yeah, I don't know. I definitely agree with what you're saying. I want to get into this really quickly before John gets on here. We have to take a look back the last 15 years.
Yes.
Here we go. Last 15 years.
My God.
November 1st, 2008. I remember this loss distinctly. 52-21. I already talked about it. It got Ron Prince fired. You can't go 0-9 against KU, Missouri, Nebraska and keep your job. And this is an old Big 12, right? That's another thing. Like, there's 16 teams in the Big 12 right now, right? And half of them are new teams that were not there 15 years ago, right? Conference realignments happened. Okay, so the first game, I talked about it. K-State wins 17-10. All the fans say for the first 10 to 15 minutes after the game, just celebrating the win, the first win in 4 years. One of my fondest memories.
I have a quick question, Steve.
Go ahead.
I guess I didn't realize this before, but why did we play in Lawrence twice? Was that because construction?
No, that was, okay. So that was, I remember when that happened, that was right around, realignment time, right? Like that's when, teams were leaving and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. I mean, that's when Nebraska, Colorado left. And then a year later, Missouri and Texas A&M left. So that was right around that time. And then we brought in West Virginia and TCU. So like they had to change the schedules because of that. K-State had to play in Lawrence 2 years in a row. I remember being very upset about it, but K-State took care of business, right? Winning 59-7, 59-21. And then the next year, 56-16. I think Tyler Lockett went off in almost every one of those games. It was a beautiful thing to see. K-State won 31-10, 2013. I mean, look how many times K-State scored 40 or more, specifically 50 or more. I think how many years in a row? 1, 2, 3 years in a row, and 4 out of 5 years, K-State scored 51 points or more against KU. That is impressive. Then they end up winning 45-14. I don't even really remember that game, honestly. I do remember the 34-19 game, the 30-20, the 21-17 game, that in Manhattan. That was honestly the year KU should have got K-State. If you're going to win, that was the game. KU outplayed K-State the entire game. Late in the game, Alex Delton had a touchdown run. Alex Barnes is on that team. Big fourth down play. K-State wins the game 21-17. Ugly game. Ugly game. 38-10 the next year. Skylar Thompson was on that team. 55-14 back in the COVID year. There's some highlights out there. There's some highlights out there of Jalen Daniels in that game against K-State. He was awful. And K-State's 55-14 win. 35-10 the next year. 47-27. That was a game in 2022. K-State won to seal their deal to the conference championship game. I was there. Then last year, another one of those games where it feels like KU probably could have and should have won the game. If Rich Miller intercepts that pass instead of dropping it, he runs it back for a touchdown. I don't think K-State comes back, right? They don't fumble. I don't know if K-State comes back. If K-State doesn't block that extra point, run it back. I don't know if K-State wins. All of those things are why K-State won that game. And they've been making plays like that every single year against KU for the last 15 years in a row. And I've been blessed as a K-State fan, as a K-State grad ×2, to be able to witness all of these wins in a row in my lifetime. It's been amazing. It really has.
Yeah, I definitely, you and I actually watched the one, the last year's one. That was the first time we actually watched the first KU game together. That was a stressful game. But now that we did the little history lesson, we can now get into this week's game finally, because we finally, I think we have our special guest has finally arrived.
Bring him in, Kenny.
Bringing him in.
Hello.
Kurt. John, what's up, dude?
What's going on, boys?
How's it going?
Pretty good. Busy day.
Good.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, you went to Big 12 Media Days for basketball. How was that?
I was there for just a little bit. Yeah, I popped in for Yormark's press conference this morning. I was able to get away from the day job for a little bit. So yeah, it was good, man. He's always it's funny. He always does kind of like it reminds me of like I keep wanting to say Tim Cook, not Tim Cook, Steve Jobs, like the sort of like CEO sort of walk and talk presentation at his press conferences. It always cracks me up, but no, he's awesome, man. He projects a lot of confidence for the league. He did that again today. So that was good. I'm going to be over there just a little bit tomorrow as well for the men. So looking forward to that.
Good deal. Well, you didn't miss too much. We just had a little history lesson going down memory lane. Stevie talking about where he was the last time that KU beat K-State. I went down the list, talked about the things that didn't even exist back when KU beat K-State. I mean, we went out like air fryers, talking about Instapots, Uber, Instagram, Apple iPads, all those things didn't exist. But John, give us a quick, tell us, where were you when KU beat K-State?
I love this question. Man, the air fryer thing, like air fry, dude, we were probably, that was not even a twinkle in the air fryer's father's eye at that point when that was happening, man. Like that was a long time ago. I was 2008, fall 08. So I was a sophomore in college. And I was not at that game. I do very vividly remember at the time I was dating a girl who went to Tulsa, a girl that I went to high school with. So she played soccer at Tulsa, and I would go drive 5 hours to Tulsa a lot of weekends to see her. And I remember, I'm sure that I was not very confident they were going to win that game. So I went to Tulsa that weekend, and I remember trying to watch it. How was I watching it? I remember it must have been like a crappy TV or something where the reception wasn't coming in very well, because I don't think it would have been a phone at that point, right? But I was trying to watch it somewhere. Reception wasn't coming in very well, but I saw the score and the way it was going. And I was like, all right, well, to hell with this. I don't need to see any more of that. So, I remember that was the game. Freeman trying to reach the ball over the goal line, and I got whacked out. Like, yeah, bad times.
Dude,
the iPhone 4 didn't even exist yet. So.
I'm shocked we were on the 4. I'm shocked we were on the 4 at that time, man.
Dude, I didn't realize John had a girl in a different area code. That's crazy. I was talking
I'm not.
to you
Hey, Stevie. Hey, wait. I'm not shocked at all about that. Are you kidding me? Look at this guy.
I mean,
Thank you.
John's voice is like an ASMR, dude. It really is. I remember that from college for sure. I was talking you up too about our intramural basketball team, and you are a leading scorer every single game for sure.
Oh my God, dude, that's taking me back, boy.
We had like 5 players on the team. That was crazy. Okay, got to get into this game. I was listening to the Go Power Cat K-State Insiders today. They were all talking about how like 10 points feels like too much in this K-State KU game. I don't get that at all, John. Like, I really feel like K-State's probably going to dominate this game. I mean, KU's 2-5. Before this past weekend, their only win was against an FCS school. I know they've lost a lot of close games. John, I want to get your like just initial thoughts, feelings about this game being played in Manhattan this weekend.
Well, I do have a little bit of, I would just say I'm a little leery. Only because, yes, Kansas is 2-5 for sure. Bad teams generally find a way to lose, and they've been really good at finding different ways to lose, whether it's been the offense or the defense or special teams. I mean, it's been a mixed bag, and they've had a lot of different issues. But they have been in most of those games. Like they have not been. Nobody's blown them out this year. Like they've been close in the fourth quarter. And I mean, ironically, I don't know how TCU is the one team to put them away by double digits, but they are. So I think they're closer than their record would probably indicate. They do have a decent amount of talent on the offensive side of the ball for sure. And I don't know, you can believe Lance Leipold or not. I saw he said after the Houston game that maybe it's just taken more time than they thought for Jalen Daniels to knock off some of the rust. And that's why you've seen him play better, not just against Houston, but the Arizona State game. He had a pretty good game there too. That was one of those where it was the defense really letting him down. Jalen Daniels had a pretty clutch throw to put them up late in the game. And then the defense just gave up a drive, straight down their throats to lose the game. So I think they're closer than the record indicates. I guess it's long story short. They finally have at least a little bit of confidence. They hadn't won a game in 51 days before they beat Houston the other day, and they did it in blowout fashion. So I'm sure that's at least restored a little bit of confidence. And this is going to be a kitchen sink kind of game for them. They'll be able to just go in, nothing to lose, and throw every single thing that they have out there at a K-State team that they know needs to win this to keep hopes alive of a college football playoff berth and a Big 12 championship and all that stuff. It honestly, it does give me some 2022 kind of vibes where that Kansas team was a 500-ish team. I think they finished 6-7 that year after losing the bowl game. And they came into Manhattan and you knew, all right, like they've got some talent. They can probably cause you some problems. K-State at that point was playing for a spot in the Big 12 championship game. So like everything on the line for K-State, less on the line for Kansas. They could play more, nothing to lose. And they were competitive. I mean, it was a pretty competitive game. K-State stretched it out, wound up winning by 20. So I feel like you could see a similar sort of game play out like that. But I will just say, too, I think this team, this 24 version of K-State as opposed to 22, probably has a little more variance in it just because it's younger, I think, across the board. Now, the good news is they've been much better at home. But I think if they don't show up, I guess my point is they better bring it or else they could get beat. So it's a long way of sort of taking both sides of the fence there, because I said, well, they could be really competitive like 22, but that still wound up as a 20-point game. But I would anticipate that this is going to be a pretty competitive game, at least for 2.5, 3 quarters. And Kansas definitely has enough to win the game. I would say that.
Yeah, I think Kansas is going to be playing spoiler alert probably for the rest, or they're going to try to play spoiler for the rest of the teams that they go against for the back half of this schedule here. I mean, they've got K-State, they got Iowa State right after this. They got BYU. They got Colorado. The thing that alarms me about when you talk about their close games and them not even be able to finish their close games, who did they play? They played TCU. That's the bottom of the table. West Virginia, they're a little bit lower middle, I guess. Arizona State, I mean, they've actually, shown up this year. But Houston, they beat the only team that they've won in the Big 12 is Houston, and well, they're not really that impressive. I mean, 2 games they didn't even score.
I mean,
so,
look, their only wins are against bad teams, an FCS team and the worst team in the Big 12. That's the way I'm looking at it, man.
Yeah, but even but to John's point, they weren't getting blown out. But it's like, okay, well, they were not great teams either, so they haven't played. I mean, this will probably be, other than maybe Illinois, you could argue that K-State's, the best team that they're going to be playing against until, they play Iowa State and BYU after this, and then Colorado after that. And now Baylor's looking like they're stepping up. So I just think when you've got a team like Kansas where they are kind of going to come in and play like they've got nothing to lose, they're going to play like really loose, and that could be really dangerous because they could just kind of, like you said, throw the kitchen sink in there. And, when you have nothing to lose, like big things can kind of happen and go your way sometimes. But then also on the other end, things can go completely the wrong way. And if you're just playing loose and stuff, but this is a big game for both schools. It's definitely a pride kind of game, a bragging rights kind of game. Kansas is always wanting to win this game, and K-State's always wanting to secure the dominance and obviously secure that streak. The players are never going to say it. The coach is never going to talk about it, but they care about the streak. I think everybody cares about the streak if you're a K-State fan.
Yeah.
So,
to stick up for Kansas just a bit, I would say, I mean, UNLV also is like, that's, I believe, are they still unbeaten? Because they're Boise. That's a pretty big game they have this week with
Did
Boise.
they lose to Syracuse? I think they lost to Syracuse or something like that.
Okay. Someone check me on that. I know that they're definitely one of the best G5 teams that's out there. I know like Josh Pate this week is going to that game on Friday, Boise UNLV, which is a great G5 game. So it's not a terrible team for sure. And Illinois, I mean, I'm glad that Illinois is having a nice season. I mean, Illinois deserves it. It's kind of a fun story. They're, kind of a blah Big Ten team, but they're decent, right? I mean, so those teams have at least been okay. And Jalen Daniels was really the problem in both of those games. And it does appear that he is playing better football at this stage. And K-State has had problems with the secondary, and I worry less about this with Jeff Grimes than I do Andy Kotelnicki, because Kotelnicki was just so good at scheming whatever he wanted to scheme up. But trick plays are something that I would watch out for. Grimes does have a penchant for doing a lot of that. And I mean, I swear to God, like Chris Kleiman does a lot of great things. One of them is not defending trick plays. They are so susceptible to it all the time. So yeah. I imagine that Kansas is going to come in with a couple of those probably to throw out there. And that's a part of what gets covered under the kitchen sink part of it. But
yeah,
it is, it's weird. It's just the vibes around the game are kind of weird because you didn't expect Kansas to be in this low of a place. And didn't really expect, like, Colorado turned into a huge game. West Virginia was probably a little bit tempered down from what I would have expected it to be at the beginning of the year, and you just blasted them. So I don't know. None of this feels like what you expected it to be here at this point in the season. So it's tough to get a grasp on. I'll be honest. It's a little difficult for me to get a grasp on what exactly to expect.
Well, we can actually give a little bit of an insight on the grasp. We always start out with the offense, the K-State offense versus the opponent's defense on this channel when we get into the breakdown. And Stevie actually takes the time to create this sort of this chart that
I'll pull it up right now.
Pulling it up right now, and we can kind of get a look at where K-State stacks up against Kansas. And Stevie, you want to explain this chart?
Yeah, sure. So obviously the lighter color means that the team has the advantage there. The darker color means they have a distinct advantage, meaning at least a 50 spot difference there. And then the gray means there's only a 1 or 2 spot difference or no difference at all. So obviously when looking at this, I mean, K-State definitely has the advantage on offense, and specifically running the ball. We already knew that. DJ Giddens, K-State's rush offense, 10th in the country, 223 rushing yards per game. KU 73rd in the country in rush defense. Now, it probably could be a lot better without last weekend's performance. I think K-State was 8th going into last weekend's game at West Virginia. They could not really run the ball at all. And I think that's what any team was probably going to do against K-State the rest of the season, is trying to make K-State one-dimensional, try to make him pass the ball. And, when K-State can pass the ball like Avery Johnson's doing, I think he has 11 touchdowns in the last 3 games combined. I don't know how you stop K-State's offense. I really don't. John, how good is Avery Johnson playing right now at quarterback? I mean, he had 298 passing yards last game.
Well, that I think is the really important piece of what K-State has developed into over the last 3 weeks, is that they are much less one-dimensional offensively. Whereas beforehand, I think there was a fear after the first month of the season, like, hey, you could be kind of game scripted out of a game. And I actually remember like DY and I talking about that on Threema, like going into the Colorado game, like, all right, if Colorado jumps out in front, they get a couple explosive plays with a passing game that can certainly do that to you, and suddenly you're behind by a couple of scores. We haven't seen this team be able to really throw themselves back into a game, so you could be in some real trouble there if you're not able to utilize your best weapon, which is DJ Giddens' legs, and then, probably 1A, 1B, that, and then Avery Johnson's legs, obviously. And now I think you can say, at least with more confidence, that there's a chance that Avery Johnson could throw you back into a game and give you that extra layer. Like I would equate it to, also, a lot of people have asked about, Iowa State, BYU. How do you separate them? Who's 1, who's 2 in the Big 12 right now? I've always said BYU might have the better resume, but I would take Iowa State. I think they have a higher ceiling, and it's because it's a hell of a passing attack, and they can throw you back into a game. And it's exactly what they did. They drove down 80 yards in a minute, just like nothing, like a hot knife through butter against UCF to win a game when they had to. And I don't know if K-State's on that level. I think Avery's got a ways to go to be as reliable as Rocco Becht. I think Iowa State has better receivers, but they're getting there. They're definitely getting there. And I mean, you think about, not only did Avery do that on a night when DJ Giddens was completely shut down, I mean, until the game was out of reach and he tacked on some yardage at the end of the game, he was under 30 yards. When the outcome was still in doubt. So that put everything on Avery, and he couldn't use his legs. He didn't have a single carry because they're not wanting to run him right now, coming off of that injury in the Colorado game. So that is what is impressive about it. Like, they literally had nothing else but his arm. His arm had to carry him, and he did. Now, with the caveat, West Virginia's pass defense is terrible, but this is a 3-week trend. He was better against Colorado. He won the game against Colorado with his arm. And Oklahoma State at the time was his best day through the year as well. So I think we're seeing that growth clearly. And he's just, people have asked me this week, like, what is it? What is it? I don't, it just seems like he's getting more consistent, like especially the deep ball, which helps to soften up the defense. But it seems like the deep ball is becoming more and more accurate every single week. And that's making a massive difference.
Well, yeah. And there was a press conference that the coaches were even talking about how his accuracy in practice has like improved. And that's kind of what allowed them to even have more confidence in the play calling for him to be throwing more passes. Like, well, I mean, we saw him, they were like, well, we saw him on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever day it was. And we saw that he was completing like 99% of them or whatever. And like, wow, this is insane. So that that obviously gives them more confidence. But I think K-State's plan is always going to try to establish the run first and let DJ just go off. I mean, when you've got arguably one of the best running backs in the country, you want to try to get him going first. And if the defense responds like the way that Colorado did in the second half of their game, and the way that West Virginia responded basically right from the jump, where they basically put everybody in the box and they're like, you're not going to let DJ beat us. I mean, I even made a joke about last stream. I said that they said a prayer, you know, how everybody huddles around and they do a prayer, like hallowed be thy name. They do the whole prayer there, and they just say, thy let not Giddens beat us on the ground. Like that's part of the prayer that they say before they go out on the field. And that's what West Virginia did, because they saw the film. They didn't want to be embarrassed like Colorado was, and the adjustments that they had to make. Well, again, if that's the case, then we're just going to throw over you. And I like the utilization of the tight ends. I like how Keegan Johnson was being incorporated a lot more in the past game. Jaden Jackson was incorporated. It wasn't all just Jace Brown. Like a lot of people got a lot of touches, and it just makes it seem like we're extremely versatile. We have a lot of targets. We're very dynamic. We're not just one. We have multiple dimensions. Like we don't have to just run the ball through DJ. We can run it through Dylan. We could run it with Avery. Now that's a big question mark going into this. When I look at the K-State offense, I'm like, is Avery going to be able to use his legs? Because part of being a dual threat is being able to use that other threat. And he quite literally was probably told by the coaches to not run a single yard at all. Like, we don't want you to run at all on the ground. And to their credit, I'm glad that they didn't, because, you know, that you didn't want what happened with Garrett Green to happen to Avery Johnson. You didn't want him to get banged up and then have to get pulled out of the game. That would have been a nightmare. So to their credit, the game plan worked out, and Avery just had to prove that he could win it on his arm, and he did. So in terms of the K-State offense, I'm extremely confident more than ever now going into this week. We're back at home. The crazy time zones, the crazy 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock games and crazy elevations. We can be done with that for now on. And now we can play at home. The comfort's going to be better. It's still a night game, not as late as 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, or like, you know, whatever the body clock would be if when we were playing in Provo or whatever. But it's the fact that, like, we're back at home. We got the crowd, you know, going our way. And yeah, I just think we're a lot more comfortable, and Chris Kleiman has a great record of winning at home. I mean, overall. So,
and let's not forget, KU's defense is the reason why they keep losing all of these close games. I mean, they blew every one of those games because their defense could not get a stop late. And I feel like K-State's offense is better than every one of the teams KU has played so far this year. So I feel pretty confident in the K-State offense, specifically with the way that Avery Johnson's playing lately. Let's turn our attention to the K-State defense. I pulled the stats one more time here.
This one can be a little bit quicker, you know, because we spend so much time.
Yeah, go ahead, Kenny. Take it from here, Kenny.
Well, I'm going to be looking at the D line, man. I mean, like, they're always going to be the go-to focus for K-State's defense. I mean, putting pressure on Daniels is going to be extremely important. We don't want him to be able to throw the ball. He's going to scramble. I mean, he's going to try to run the ball. I would like to see, potentially, because he likes to scramble and run the ball around, I would like to see the defense do more of a 3-3 defense this time rather than the 4-2. So I definitely want to see Purnell and the two Austins in there all at once. I think that would probably be the best go. But listen, I'm not the coach. I don't get paid to determine what they put out on the field. I just think going forward, I just think against their offense, it would make sense to show more of that 3-3.
Well, they got to tackle better, because I will say, I mean, it was really frustrating in the first half watching them try to tackle Garrett Green. I mean, there were a lot of missed tackles, and Desmond Purnell, who's been great, I thought had one of his poorer performances in that first half. He had a handful of missed tackles there. And I mean, Kleiman called it out too. Like anybody could see it who was watching the game. Like, Daniels will make you pay for that, for sure. I do feel like he may be a little bit more of a scramble to throw than Garrett Green, who is going to just take off and hurl his body at you at all times, come hell or high water. But Daniels can definitely pick up first downs on his own too. So I would focus in on that. And yeah, I mean, just the secondary always makes me a bit uneasy. The numbers are not real pretty back there. Better against West Virginia, but not a team that really challenges you through the air a ton. Kansas can definitely do that. Like Luke Grimm is having a really big year for them at receiver. Their receiver core as a whole, I thought would have a better year this year, but some of that also has just been on the quarterback and their offense just being out of sync. But Luke Grimm is definitely a stud and has played a ton of football there. And I actually think one of the interesting things about this game is that Daniel Highshaw, the kind of running back 2 for Kansas, is highly questionable, according to Lance Leipold. And I think they usually give him the ball too much. Like Devin Neal is so good. They don't feed Devin Neal enough. So I'm almost like, I don't know, I'd prefer Highshaw played so that not all those carries are going to Devin Neal, who is very, very good. But that's something to watch at least. So I think a lot of it will, K-State's going to have to stop the run, and the run D, you can see it there on the stat sheet. Like the run D has been very good. They need to keep that up so that it helps out the secondary a bit. And, and a lot of that will probably come down to the scramble drill type stuff. And like Kansas has run a lot of, you see them do a lot of speed option. I think it'll require a lot of discipline, not just in stopping Daniels from scrambling, keeping your rush lanes, making sure somebody's setting the edge, and then, just not getting schemed into having only one defender there for both Neal and Daniels out on the edge when they're trying to run speed option, because that has at times been a pretty effective play for them. So they'll throw some things at you that are a little fun. It's definitely not an Andy Kotelnicki offense. It's honestly, I've had fun watching Penn State play offense this year, which is not something I've been able to say in a long time. And it's because that guy's there and he's a total stud. Jeff Grimes is not him. But they do some good things offensively. So it'll be a challenge. Like, I think it'll be, if you think about this year, I'm like, who has K-State played that's been a better offense? Probably Colorado. But outside
BYU, well, maybe not BYU, but
yeah, I don't. That's the thing. Like BYU is kind of plotting, methodical. They're decent. Like Roberts and Lassiter are solid receivers. They've been kind of a mash unit at running back. Retzloff is, erratic but good at times. I would probably say it's the second best offense that they will have faced this year behind Colorado, because Arizona on paper should be pretty good, but they've been pretty dreadful most of this year. Brent Brennan just doesn't have it. So I think it will be a pretty stiff test for the K-State defense.
One thing I do notice is that we can't allow KU to get into the red zone, because it looks like they're able to convert that into points. So we definitely need to make sure we keep them out of the red zone as much as possible. But go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, just one thing we're looking at the stats breakdown before I take it down here is two things that I'm looking at here. Their passing offense has not been great, 99th in the country. I think through 2 games, we talked about it on the pod, early in the season. Jalen Daniels was second in the country in interceptions. He had 6 interceptions through 2 games. Terrible, really bad. So their passing offense has not been great. I know he's been playing better lately, but it's really, how have you played overall? And he's not been playing great. And the K-State rush defense has been stellar all year. So I really don't have, any qualms about the K-State defense. I think they're going to be just fine.
So I think that brings us to score predictions and hot takes.
Yeah. So, okay. So this is time for the K-State score predictions and hot takes. Like you said, we got to bring up the stats award graphic from Parker Fleming on Twitter. collegefootballinsiders.com. You want blue, specifically darker blue. When looking at this probability win percentage for K-State wins 90% of the time, almost 90% of the time, with a projected score of 37-20. That is crazy. There's a lot of red there for KU, a lot of blue for K-State. That is amazing. Of course, K-State's red in the field position, because it feels like K-State loses a field position battle every single game. John, you're the special guest here, man. We got to go to you first. What is your score prediction here early on a Tuesday night in a Sunflower Showdown? Does K-State win for the 16th straight year in a row?
I do have K-State winning. I am trying to remember exactly what I wrote on we're recording 3-mod tomorrow. I'm trying to remember if I to keep this the same.
Oh, we're getting the sneak peek.
You are. It was, I want to say I had 31-20, maybe 34-20. You know, I'd waffle back and forth there. Somewhere around there is what I'm feeling. I think there will be a decent amount of points scored in the game. I think the over-under is like 55.5, if I recall from what I saw yesterday. So I think you will get some points, but I think it plays out in a similar sort of fashion as that 2022 game where Kansas can throw some counter punches, hang in close enough to make it a competitive game, and K-State can kind of put it away as they grind on them late in the third quarter into the fourth. That's really where I ultimately arrive at, I think, sorting through all of this right now. So I do think it will be 16 straight. And the nice thing about that is that, I mean, if you just look at the developmental cycles, which basically everybody in the Big 12 has to be in some ways a slave to that, where I don't think there are a lot of teams in this league that can go year in, year out winning 10 games a year. So you got to, when are you going to peak? I think next year is really assuming that you keep the roster intact when K-State would be peaking, with a lot of the young talent that they have. Whereas Kansas, they're losing a slew of players here. So that's kind of some extra incentive to the game. Underlying storyline is like, you want to keep that streak going, man. You get this one. Now, all of a sudden next year, you'll have to go to Lawrence and to their new stadium. But on paper, that's going to be a Kansas team that's having to reload quite a bit. So, I like the Cats.
Kenny, go ahead, man. I'll go last.
52-20, K-State wins.
I dig it.
Ooh, I love it.
I want to get a K-State victory with over 50 points this season. And what better game to do it against your in-state rival who has, I mean, look, it's not like it's unheard of. K-State scored over 50 against KU many times in the past, even when they only had one touchdown, like they were still running up the score. So, I mean, I don't think K-State holds back here. I think they're going to, it's going to mean too much. It's going to mean just as much for the K-State players that are, you did mention a lot of those players potentially might be coming back. I hope DJ comes back. If he does, that would make me so happy. He's my favorite offensive player.
It's not.
But this could quite literally be his last time getting to smack down KU. And I want him to, I'll get into my hot takes later, but it's going to be 52-20. K-State wins.
I was thinking for a second that was an ode to 2008, the last time that Kansas won. I thought was that 52-20? It was 52-21. 52-21. So close, very close.
Love it. I got K-State winning 45-24. Like John said, very similar to 2022 vibes. I think K-State is peaking at the right time right now. I mean, if you look at where K-State's playing in terms of Iowa State and BYU, they're looking like the class of the conference. And I think KU winning last week is probably actually really good for K-State so they don't overlook them. I just think K-State's just a way, way better football team. So 45-24, K-State wins. Okay, time to get into the hot takes, and then we'll let John out of here before we get into the Week 9 picks. I'll go first. I got Avery Johnson scoring 5 touchdowns on offense. I got K-State with 3 interceptions on defense and then another non-offensive touchdown. I don't know where it's going to come from, but it's going to happen. Kenny,
you didn't even explain the K-State hot takes to John.
Go ahead.
John,
go ahead.
You got to bring the heat on the K-State hot takes. Okay. We've actually been super accurate with this season with our hot takes. I mean, almost every week we're able to nail a hot take. I mean, the week we played Colorado, I predicted 5 sacks. They got 6. Last week, Stevie did a non-offensive touchdown. Of course, we got the pick 6. So you go ahead, Stevie. Say that one more time. Just wanted to give a review of what the K-State hot. We got last week. Brian Hanley's hot take. Brian Hanley had a crazy hot take. He said that Dylan Edwards was going to get 150 total yards and that Austin Moore was going to get a pick or something like that.
He did call that. Yeah, that is true. I felt like it was pretty self-explanatory, but I have Avery Johnson with 5 touchdowns, defense, 3 interceptions, non-offensive touchdown. Kenny, what do you got?
DJ is finally going to run over 200 yards this game. He has been so close so many times this season. So I think finally he breaks the ceiling, the 200-yard ceiling. And I think I'm not 100% sure, but this last game really set him back on that fastest season to get to 1,000 yards or whatever. This is gonna get him right back in there. I think he can still do it though. I think he can still break Sproles' record this season, even with that really bad game against West Virginia in terms of rushing. But yeah, DJ gets 200 yards rushing. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna repeat my my prediction, my hot take from last week that didn't happen. Austin Romaine forces a fumble and gets a turnover at some point in this game.
Man, put me on the spot here. I was like thinking through a lot of these things. I like the DJ Giddens one a lot because I don't think that the Kansas front seven is that great. The strength of their defense is definitely the back end, albeit, Kobe Bryant always gets the picks. I think he can be a little feast or famine. So actually my hot take was going to be, I think that we get we all remember, now this is not a game that I like to remember from the year before, the last time that K-State lost to KU, but Jordy Nelson just scorched Aqib Talib for a long touchdown. I will say that we get a Jace Brown on Kobe Bryant moment like that, where he just torches him for a long touchdown. I will throw that one out there, and it will bring back some of the memories of that game. Boy, I kind of wanted to go, I keep waiting for one thing. I'm sort of like wish casting and trying to just make happen is a huge Dylan Edwards game. But you told me Brian Hanley took that last time. I was going to say Dylan Edwards goes over 100 total yards in the game and has some big moments. So I'll make that a second one there, that this will be a breakout game of sorts for Dylan Edwards, another Kansas kid. It just seems like there's so much there, but they haven't been, they've gotten close to busting him loose on something, but he just hasn't quite been there. So I'll take this for the week for Dylan Edwards to make that happen.
You got anything on defense, like a defense or special teams or anything like that? Or you just going to do it just all offense?
Maybe a couple of sacks for Toby.
Oh my God!
Not Mod. You're not going Mod. You're going Toby.
I want to see the statue celebration again, man.
We'll go back to Toby. Look, Mott, I don't think it's a hot take for Mott to have multiple sacks. And the guy's just been so damn consistent every single week. So get somebody else in there. Actually, if you really want, if this were like, the betting market and you had odds on somebody, a nice, take a flyer on somebody might be Chidi Obiizor, who played one of his better games last week, that he could get in there. But I'm a big Toby guy. So let's get another Wichita kid, Toby, involved with a couple sacks.
The statue celebration man himself.
We need it. We need it. John, are you going to be there on Saturday?
I will. I will be in the press box. Yes.
Okay. I might see you there. I might not. I'm probably going to sit in the stands with my mom because I've been doing that for 15 years. Every once in a while, sitting in the press box. So I might see you there. But John, we really, really appreciate you coming on, dude. This has been a lot of fun. It really has been catching up with you and talking some K-State football, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. And you guys can check him out on the 3 Mile Pod and his own channel. It's got like 20,000 subs. That's crazy, dude. Congratulations, dude.
Hey, can you spare some of those subs over on our channel? I mean, just need a couple more.
We just need a couple 300, and that's it.
Just start posting about conference realignment, man. That's the best. That's the best advice I can give you. The people love the realignment.
Well, it needs to happen because this alignment is insane. I'm not a fan of it, but we've already did a lot of.
You don't love the 9:30 Central kickoffs.
No,
no. Same here. I keep falling asleep, man. I'm too old.
And one other thing that I totally forgot about. Kenny asked me, he's like, "Why did K-State play at KU 2 years in a row?" Realignment. Because of realignment, that's happened when all those new teams came in back in 2010, 2011. That's why K-State played there twice. That sucked, but
yeah.
Well, again, we appreciate you, dude, and have a good night, and I'll see you Saturday.
Okay. Take care, boys.
Later, bud. So we're going to get into...
That was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, John's a great guy, man. He really is. I had so many classes with him. I mean, I knew from the beginning. I was like, this guy's going to be big, dude. He's got the perfect voice. He's very articulate, super nice guy, way funnier than people give him credit for too. Like
he's got the voice. Like I would love to have him.
He's got the riz. He's got the charisma too, dude.
The riz, the charisma, the glass. He's got like a little Clark Kent going on. But it's funny because he's got that voice that like I want him and Pete Mundo to like get on a show.
Oh, I
together.
bet they've done it before. I bet they have. They're both Kansas City guys.
Yeah, they both have this like radio sports casting voice. I mean, it's just whatever you want to call that voice. They definitely have it. So
absolutely.
But shout out to John Kurtz. What a great guy. Probably one of the best special guests we've had on here. We haven't had a lot, but he's definitely a good guy, and go check him out whenever you can.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like if they're watching us, they're probably watching him too. Let's be honest. They probably know who he is. They're watching him.
We got a lot of BYU fans. We got a lot of BYU fans.
That is true. But he's got 21,000 subs. So I mean, can he spare us just a little bit of subs? Just a little bit.
Not even 1,000. Just give us like a couple
300, 400. That's all we need. So
we'll take it from there.
Okay. Is it time? Yeah, we need to get. Oh yeah, Joe Tillery. That's another guy that I've actually talked to about coming on. So we'll try to get him on at some point because he's another big K-State guy. Is it time to talk about Week 9 in the Big 12? Pick all the games.
Let's nail it. Let's do it.
All right, make sure you guys like, subscribe, tell your friends. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. We just need some more subscribers. So if you're a Big 12 fan, please subscribe. Starting off with the Sunflower Showdown. We just talked about it in our main podcast. I have K-State winning 45-24. I think Avery Johnson's going to have a huge game. I picked him to have 5 touchdowns. K-State defense is going to get 3 interceptions. K-State's going to get a non-offensive touchdown. These are just all my hot takes I'm reiterating right now. I think K-State's going to make it 16 in a row. K-State's playing too good of football to lose this game. KU hasn't beaten K-State in 16 years. They're not going to do it this year. K-State wins 45-24. What was your score prediction again?
My score prediction was 52-20. Hot take is that DJ Giddens gets over 200 yards this game. If he does get to over 200 yards, he will in fact be over 1,000 yards. He'll be at 1,400 or 1,043 if he hits over 200. And then my other hot take was that Austin Romaine was going to force a fumble turnover. So, yeah.
Love it. K-State is going to win 16 in a row against the Jayhawks about an hour away, hour 20 away.
It's blatantly obvious. Blatantly obvious.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about you saying that. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Okay, BYU traveling a couple time zones away to Orlando to play UCF. UCF, I mean, they got a tough schedule, man. They had to play at Iowa State. Now you got BYU at home. Does BYU get it done here at Orlando at UCF? Or do they lose? What do you got? I don't know what to pick yet.
It's just getting crazy because UCF, the 2 games, UCF versus Iowa State, Oklahoma State versus BYU, they both ended in the exact same score, 38-35. And it all happened at the very end of the game when the undefeated teams had to drive the ball down with time basically running out on them. BYU scored. I think it was like they had a less than 1% chance of winning that game at 19 seconds. So that's pretty insane. But they managed to pull out the win. Can UCF see they've just been so underwhelming, but can UCF get it done on the ground? I don't know for sure because BYU's defense, especially in the run game, is pretty good. I want to say that BYU definitely wins the game, but I don't think it's going to be a domination. I mean, you're traveling over 2 time zones.
This is crazy, dude. They're 3-4, and they're a 1.5 point favorite against BYU. That is crazy. They don't have a quarterback that can throw the ball.
No, they don't know how to throw a forward pass. Yeah, I think UCF loses this game. I think BYU probably beats them 27-24. I think it's going to be close.
I'm ready for a part 3 I'm sorry, video here, because I am going to pick UCF to win this game. They could have beaten Iowa State a week ago. I just feel like BYU's luck is going to run out at some point. Why not start this week at UCF? I mean, UCF is favored for a reason. Vegas knows something we don't know, man. They know something. K-State could run the ball at will at BYU, and we know that UCF can run the ball. So I'm going to take UCF 34-27.
UCF has been really turnover prone, and they haven't even played against BYU yet. BYU is like the turnover machine,
but they don't throw the ball very much. They just run it, right?
So, yeah, but UCF fumbles. That's what I'm saying. They fumbled it so much against
due, man. They are due for a loss. If it doesn't happen this week, it's going to happen at Arizona State. I promise you that. I promise you.
I mean, I hear you loud and clear. I hope that they don't, because I definitely want a rematch against BYU in Arlington.
That's the best.
And I also want to have 3 teams with only 1 loss at the end of the season. I think
there's a better chance K-State plays Iowa State in the championship than they play BYU. I'm putting that out there right now.
That would be really interesting.
I know it's crazy for me to say that. I know it's crazy. I know it is.
Well, it's not crazy, but it is interesting, because then we would play Iowa State at, in regular season, then we just go play them again. And
then we play them first game of the next season in Ireland.
Wow. Yeah. So I hope that doesn't happen, because the stats of beating a team twice is usually unlikely in college sports. Usually you don't win against the same team twice, usually.
What was your score again? I said 34-27 UCF wins.
I said 27-24 BYU.
That's right. Okay, moving on. Pair of 3 and 4 Big 12 teams. Ugh. I don't even know. I don't want to spend that much time on this game. I got Baylor winning. Baylor put together a complete game on offense last week at Texas Tech. Oklahoma State doesn't know how to win a game. They're 0-4 for a reason. They're back to Bowman. I'm going to pick Baylor to win 48-38.
I think because they're back on Bowman as a quarterback, I can't give it to Oklahoma State. During their bye week, they basically schemed their entire offense to go through Rangel, and so now that he's gone, it's back to the Bowman show. And I think Baylor just got a spark of literally scoring almost 60 points against Texas Tech. I mean, my goodness. And they're playing at home. Yeah, they're definitely, I think they're going to get this win. I'm going to go, I'll go 35-14 Baylor.
Love it. I don't have that much faith in Baylor's defense. I'll be honest. Their defense is still bad. What to make of this game? Texas Tech, TCU. Texas Tech needs to win this game. They have got to win this game if they want to keep pace in the Big 12. TCU coming off of the win at Utah. It was only 13-7, though. It really was. I don't know what to make of this game either. I am going to pick Texas Tech in a bounce-back game. 31-21. Lower scoring game. I can't believe I'm picking the under for this game, but I am. Well, I don't know how TCU is favored by 6.5. I don't get that at all.
I was just gonna say really quick. You said you don't have much faith in Baylor's defense, but Alan Bowman's terrible quarterback, and I don't have any faith in their offense when he's captaining the ship. But moving on to the Texas Tech TCU game, I understand what you're saying about Texas Tech maybe doing a bounce back game, but they're playing at TCU, So I mean, I don't know. Is Texas? Is Lubbock a super far drive to Fort Worth? Is it like 5 hours, 6 hours, or something like that? It's certainly not that long, is it? I don't know. The amount of fans that are going to be there, I don't know if it's going to be super skewed to TCU or not. But
5 hours.
It's 5 hours. Okay.
5 hours.
It's doable. I mean, people might show up there. I want to say that Texas Tech probably wins this game as well. But I think TCU is going to be in this game. I think it's going to be extremely high scoring. Well, they have TCU winning. Interesting. I'll say Texas Tech with 44 and TCU with 35.
Alrighty, moving on. West Virginia at Arizona. My gosh. Is Garrett Green healthy? That's what I want to know. I don't have any faith in West Virginia's pass defense, and Fafita has been pretty bad. 10 interceptions. My gosh, that is awful. I think this is another game that Teterow and McMillan goes off. I think Arizona is going to win like something like 30 to 17.
You want to know something funny, Steve? T-Mac hasn't scored a single touchdown in conference play. Not a single touchdown. They also haven't scored many points as an offense. Like they just don't. They're not a high-scoring team. They can't get in the end zone. West Virginia, I think, actually pulls this upset. I have no faith in Arizona at all. Yeah, I think West Virginia makes this win. If Green is the quarterback. So that's the caveat. So I would say Arizona, West Virginia wins. I'll give him 28. Arizona 7.
These comments are coming in about all these games. Okay. I think this is going to be pretty quick here. I think Houston is still pretty terrible.
Arizona, West Virginia both lose 0-0.
Yeah. I think Utah is going to bounce back here. They fire their OC for a reason. I think their offense is going to bounce back. I think Houston is terrible. I think it's going to be something like 24-10.
How can you say that their offensive coordinator leaving is gonna make their offense better now?
I feel like
teams
play better whenever they fire someone. Usually they play better whenever they fire someone. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's gonna make everyone else play better because like, oh crap, am I gonna lose my job now too? Am I gonna lose my scholarship? So I just think Utah's gonna win 24-10.
I don't know. It's like, I guess there is a such thing as a honeymoon stage or whatever whenever you get a new coach, coordinator, whatever. But you're basically like starting from scratch, and you're halfway through the season now, more than halfway through the season. You're in the back half of the season. You got a new quarterback. Oh man, I don't know, dude. The only thing is that you're playing the worst team in the conference. That's like their only thing they got going for them in this game, but they're having to travel to Houston. I don't know. I have no faith in Utah. You know what? I'm going to say Houston gets the dub. I'm going to say Houston wins against Utah. I'm going to say it's going to be like, I'll say 21-17. Close game.
Wow. That's crazy. 21-17, you said?
21-17.
Okay. Interesting game here. Cincinnati at Colorado. Colorado favored by 5.5. I don't think there's any defense in this game. I know Colorado's defense has played better as of late.
9 o'clock game, by the way. 9 o'clock game.
I know. I mean, you got to be even more upset if you're a Cincinnati fan because they're even farther east than, K-State
10-15.
Yeah, for real.
Oh
for
my
real.
God.
I do think Colorado wins. I think they're a pretty good football team, at least on offense. I know they lost a bunch of close games a year ago. They lost a close game this year to K-State. I think Colorado wins something like 34-21.
This is the game, Steve. This is the prove it game for both of these teams to prove that they're in the top of the tier of the Big 12. Now, either team that loses this game, they're not like frauds or anything like that. I just think, I think maybe Colorado might be a little bit more fraudish than Cincinnati because Cincinnati's been really quiet with their wins. I like Colorado here, though. They're at home. It's a night game. But here's the thing. Travis Hunter, I don't believe is going to be playing a lot this game. I think he's going to end up, I don't know. I think he's going to end up getting hurt again in this game. I'm not 100% sure. But Cincinnati, dude, they've got the quarterback, dude. They struck gold on the quarterback, and that's something that none of us saw coming. I mean, we all predicted Cincinnati to kind of be a little bit lower on the tier list, but they sort of figured it out. Their offense is slowly starting to figure out who's their quarterback again. Sorsby, right?
Sorsby.
That's right.
Kind of sounds like Ted Mosby.
That's right.
From How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Sorsby.
So, they are a little bit more of a passing team than they are a running team, but they can run it too. They're able to do some damage in the air and the ground. They're kind of a team that hits you first early, but that's the same kind of team that Colorado is as well. They like to come out and be explosive early on. Both teams don't like playing from behind. So I like Colorado's chances just because they have the home field advantage. The point spread is interesting. I think they might win it a little bit bigger than that, though. I think playing in Colorado is going to give them a huge edge. So I'm going to say Colorado wins. We'll go 38-33.
You just prices righted me. How dare you?
What did you say?
34-21. Love it. I love it. And that is look. That's a look around the Big 12 for week 9.
Probably talking about the Houston game.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
The Utah-Houston game.
Well, we appreciate everyone for watching. This has been fun. Kenny is not going to be at the Bill on Saturday. I am, of course. I talked about it earlier. I'm going to sit with my mom. I have been for the last 15, 20 years. Be up in the press box, getting some free food. Kenny's going to be somewhere more important. More important. There's not many things more important than a K-State KU game, but there is something more important for Kenny on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm spending time with my family. It's my daughter's birthday weekend. We celebrate it every year. Actually, her birthday's the following weekend, I believe. But in Kansas City, there is an amusement park called Worlds of Fun, and they have the entire theme park sort of like decorated in Halloween for the whole month of October. And we always like going during that sort of period of time in the month of October where we get to see all the decorations and stuff. And so we definitely wanted to we always take her every year. We've been doing it for the last 5 years. So this is another one of those years. And of course, it landed on the same day that KU's playing, unfortunately. In fact, I will say the last time that I saw KU K-State play, I want to I've never been to the stadium when they've played, but I have watched was with Stevie. But before that, I wasn't really watching K-State as closely over the years. But the last time I was in 2014. So
that's Jake Waters, Tyler Lockett, baby.
That was the last year. I think it was Tyler Lockett's last year.
It was. It was 100%.
And I remember seeing that game on TV. I'm like, wow, this guy's insane.
He broke all of Jordy's records, all of them. They're all owned by Tyler now, maybe except for one. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I know he broke almost every single receiving record, and I think he actually broke his dad's record too. So because I think Jordy did not break them all, he broke most of them, but not all. So, but Tyler Lockett's a different breed, man. Him and Jordy, top 2 receivers at K-State ever for sure. So.
And with the transfer portal now, the NIL, and Avery Johnson really developing his arm, who knows? We might actually end up having more receivers come to K-State in the future.
Yeah, dude.
And honestly, I mean, Jace Brown is really making a name for himself now early. So
True.
we could see something happen there as well. Who knows? K-State's future has always been looking brighter and brighter every single week. And really, really excited about it. And the only thing is that we need to have KSU Nation's future become a little bit brighter with those subscribers, man. We just got to get a few more 100 subscribers, and our future will be just as bright as the K-State
Absolutely.
football team. And
Absolutely.
then also looking just slightly a little bit ahead, this is the crazy crossover between football and basketball season.
We got to do a preview, dude. We got to do a season preview.
We got to do that. We got to get a season preview done. But we will be trying to incorporate basketball as well. It's a lot more difficult for us to cover basketball
There's
season.
so many games, dude. There's so many games.
So many games. And then also Steve's schedule becomes really hectic. My schedule becomes really hectic as well during the basketball season. But we will do our best for the KSU Nation. We do it for you guys.
You know, Ryan, I'm going to highlight your comment because I appreciate you watching. I really do. I like K-State though. I like K-State to win the game, but I appreciate you watching.
I never thought I'd see the day where we'd have a KU fan come in.
You know what? I'll say this. I appreciate anyone who watches and engages, all of that, regardless of who you root for. So one last thing. Out of the 7 receiving records at K-State, I'm going to go over them really quickly. Just as we end the show here. So if you don't want to listen to this, that's fine. We're going to clip out all those segments and everything. Receptions for a career. Tyler Lockett, number 1. Kevin Lockett, 2. Jordy Nelson, 3. Single season receptions. Jordy, 1. Tyler Lockett, 2. Tyler Lockett, 3. Single game receptions. Jordy Nelson, number 1. Jordy Nelson, number 1. And then Tyler Lockett, number 3. So basically twice, Jordy Nelson had 15 receptions, and then Tyler Lockett had 14 one time. Receiving yards for a career, Tyler Lockett, and then Kevin Lockett, and then Jordy. Single season, Jordy, and then Tyler Lockett, and then Tyler Lockett again. Single game, Tyler Lockett, and then Jordy Nelson, and then Jordy Nelson. So these guys are just 1A, 1B, basically. And then receiving touchdowns in a career, Tyler Lockett, number 1, Kevin, 2, Jordy all the way down at number 4. Wow, that's crazy.
I'll just say this. One of those receivers has a Super Bowl ring on his finger and one of them doesn't.
That's true.
One of them drives a tractor and one of them doesn't.
One of them's still playing though, and one of them isn't. So, and one of them's bald and one of them's not.
Yeah, well,
Jordy is not the bald one. I'll say that. Jordy is not the bald one. So anyways, this has been a fun podcast. If you are a K-State fan or a Big 12 fan and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We appreciate anyone who watches and comments.
What are you doing?
There's one last thing to say, Kenny.
That is go Cat!